Chris, for those who don't know you, would you like to give us some background and tell us how you became a Hampton fan in the first place?
Well, I started coming down around the year 2000, I would say. And to be honest, I was about 11 or 12 years old when I first came down. Didn't really know that non-league football existed or was a thing. And then I remember we got our first home computer around that time, and so I'm on the internet looking at football websites. There's no social media or anything in those days, but as I say, didn't really know there was anything below the Football League until I got onto the internet and started seeing stuff about the Isthmian League and other divisions. And I saw there was a team called Hampton, so I said to my parents, can we go to a game? So I remember they took me to my first game at BEAVERS. I don't remember much about it. It was against Sutton United, I remember that. And then I was just hooked instantly. And then I started to bring school friends down, and so a group of us started coming down, and my dad used to take us to the away matches on the trains. And as I say, I was really just hooked from day one, to be honest.
When did you first do what is known as the card, which is where a supporter attends every home game and away game of the season?
I never knew that was called the card, actually. So that's interesting. That's news to me. I first did it. I had to look up my records for this, but I did it in 2005, 2006, watching Hampton. Did every game that season. We were in the Isthmian Premier Division, and we made the playoffs that season, but we didn't get promoted. We won the league the following season, but it was a great season. I remember Alan Devonshire was the manager, and we had an excellent team at the time. It wasn't always the prettiest football, but it was a robust, physical team who were playing, and they knew how to grind out results, and the work rate was excellent, so it was really good to watch. And we had so many good players at that level, many of whom are still supportive of the club and come down. We just had Rob Parris, our centre-back, was at the Slough game the other day because he saw Hampton were playing locally, so he came along. We had Dudley Gardner in central midfield, who still comes down to games when he can. The Lake brothers and so many other great players. So it was really good times. But I did every game that season, but I haven't done it since then until now.
And in recent years, you've been the one to put together one of the best programmes in non-league. Could you tell us how that came about and what it's like to produce at such short notice, week in, week out?
Oh, thank you for the compliment. I took over the programme in 2016, and at the time, the Supporters Trust were managing the programme, and Rob Overfield edited it before me, and he moved on from the role. And I remember they were kind of looking around, not knowing who was going to take it on and what they were going to do, and it was a bit of a burden. So I said, okay, I'll have a go. I remember I was always trying to give Rob advice and saying, change this on the front cover and add that and all the rest of it. So I thought I'd better give it a go. So I took that on for the 2016 season, which was our first at National League South at Step 2 after winning promotion again. And I'd like to say it's improved year on year, I think, as I've been doing it. You learn things as you go along. I'm really not a professional, editor or anything like that. I was really just going in blind and learning as I went. And I think what you have to do is be able to get people to write things for you and put a team together. And we're very fortunate at Hampton. We've got a really good team of people who are writing articles, sending in bits and pieces, photographs and everything. So I get sent a lot. So a lot of the job is really just putting it together and trying to make it look good. But it is challenging. It is challenging, especially when the league schedulers give you, 2 or 3 matches on the spin at home, and then by the third one you're really running out of content, and you're thinking, oh, what am I going to put in here? And I think the other difficulty with programmes is just that, whereas 25 years ago they would be like a source of news for the supporters, everything's online now, everything's on social media, so you have to try to keep the programme interesting by coming up with original content that people haven't read before. And so I think a lot of that is kind of historical content that people like to read about. It's historical stuff about the club, it's articles about football in general, and just anything like that, I think. So it's a challenge trying to keep it fresh, I think.
And obviously we've just heard that Alan Julian is signed on for another year with us. And as someone who has seen him a lot as a player, could you tell us your thoughts on hearing Jules was going to be manager for us?
I think everybody was really happy that we had somebody that we knew from the club, somebody who's a bit of a club person, who's a local person. Even in his career, he played for Brentford up the road. And I think. So I was really happy about that. I think it gave us a sort of certain continuity, and the coaching team as well. Obviously, Luke Ruddick's been at the club as well for a long time, so know them quite well. Was very enthusiastic about them taking the role on, and wanted to do everything we could to support them. And of course, he's a good Rangers man like me as well, so that helps.
Could you tell us when and why you decided that you were going to go to every game this season?
Yeah, I think I decided really soon after we had that management team announced, because I wanted to support them and what they were trying to do. Everybody was writing us off, and I'll admit that includes me. A lot of us thought we were going to struggle this season just gone. A lot of us thought it was going to be a relegation season. We thought, we've played at step 2 for a few years now, and maybe this is the season where we're going to struggle. So I wanted to really get behind them, because I knew that the job they had before them was a really challenging one that they had taken on, to work with the budget they had and to put a team together, recruiting heavily from step 3 and step 4, and they did a really good job at that. And I just wanted to be there to give them that support, so I made the decision really early on before the pre-season games started.
Obviously, you mentioned pre-season. Could you describe pre-season and your first thoughts of Jules' side and how that formed your expectations for the season properly?
I think during pre-season, I personally try not to draw too much inference from it, because I think you get a lot of experts during pre-season who will tell you what the outcome of the season is going to be based on some game like Beaconsfield away or something, and it's not always the case, because players are obviously coming back into fitness, you're putting a new team together, there's a lot going on. I'm more interested in like individual players and stuff like that rather than the team as a whole. So I didn't really read too much into the pre-season. I never do, to be honest. As I say, like most people, I was fairly pessimistic about our prospects for the season. And I don't think anything in pre-season particularly did anything to change that. I think that we had a comfortable win against Beaconsfield in that first game, didn't we? But we played some games that it's so hard to draw inference from, because I think we played an Ashford Town squad that was basically just I think it was a youth team, and I think a lot of our players were just trialists as well. So that's the difficult thing, isn't it? You don't know when you have trialists who are unsigned whether we're really just giving them a run out or whether they're actually in the manager's plans for the season. So I think for me, pre-season is more just catching up with all of your friends at the games and things like that, and preparing for the season ahead in that way. So I wouldn't say the pre-season particularly affected my view of how the season was going to go.
A lot of games did stand out this season, but could you describe a couple of games that stood out particularly for you in the first couple of months of the season?
I think I would say that the first game of the season against Hornchurch down here was a really interesting first game to have, because obviously Hornchurch had just been promoted into the division. So on face value, it was quite a good barometer of where we were, and nobody was quite sure what to expect. It was a great day because Hornchurch brought brilliant travelling support. I think they all got a boat along the Thames, and there were lots of them, and they made a good racket as well behind the goal. I think Hornchurch won the game 3-1 from memory, but we made a good account of ourselves, and it wasn't a disaster, and we were competitive. And I remember thinking Hornchurch are going to have a good season because they looked good, and they did have a good season in the end. So I think that game stands out. And just because it was the first game's always fun. I always love the first game, because you see people that you haven't seen for a while, and you're just getting back into the swing of things. Yeah. So yeah, Hornchurch definitely. And I think what else stands out in the first half of the season? Yeah, I think we'll leave it there, Hornchurch.
How difficult is it to combine your work life and other life commitments with getting to every single game?
I would say, for me, I work Monday to Friday for my day job, so it isn't difficult in terms of working at the weekends and stuff, because I don't. There's a lot going on. I've got a couple of side hustles and things like that as well, so it is difficult when it's all the time. I think what's more challenging is the Tuesday night games, which sometimes can start to impact on your day to day. Particularly, I think this season they gave us games like Weymouth on a Tuesday night and Eastbourne on a Tuesday night. But generally, I don't have too many problems getting to the games, thankfully, just because of my working patterns.
Now, is it expensive to attend every single home and away fixture?
Well, I'll tell you the problem with the National League South. It's all of the games that you have to travel out west on Great Western Railway, because they are expensive trains. And I think certainly this season, going to the likes of Truro, Bath, Torquay, absolutely, it was getting expensive, and the money was adding up. I'm not sad that Truro have won the league and gone up a division, because we can do without that expense next season. So yeah, it is expensive, and it's getting more expensive as well. You know, I think the last few years, you know, prices of everything have noticeably been going up. So it is getting more challenging at step 2 and downwards, really, to follow your non-league team for a lot of people.
Going back to the first half of the season, could you tell us about your favourite home and away fixture?
I think my favourite home fixture would be Enfield Town, which was at the end of September. I think it was 28th September from memory. And we beat them 4-0. And we played them off the park. And I think it was probably the first game. I think it was like our second or third win on the bounce. And I think that was the first time that you really thought, wow, we could actually do something this season, and this is looking really good. I think James Roberts scored a brace, Maroville scored one. I can't remember who scored the other goal that game, but that was definitely a home match that stood out, and it was a real confidence booster. I think for an away match, the Hemel Hempstead game, which was in November, which was another 4-0 win, stands out for that reason. I think we had really good travelling support that day as well. We made a good racket, and Callum O'Keefe made his National League South debut that day, so it was a good day all round.
And at one stage, we were knocking on the door of the playoffs. What was your feelings as a supporter around that time?
I think I was really impressed with the job the management team were doing, and I was really happy for the lads as well that it was going so well. I think I've seen us in the playoffs at this level before. We've been there, you know, a few times, 3 or 4 times in the past. And I suppose for me, I think Hampton is probably, you know, we're doing well to be at step 2, and we're taking on big professional clubs, the likes of your Torquays and so on. And I never thought Hampton would be in the same division as Torquay United. You know, I remember in the 2000s, Torquay were playing Brentford in the league matches. So that's pretty incredible. But I think that we were doing really well, and it was exciting. I'm not desperate for promotion to step 1 personally. Like that would be a very expensive season as a supporter. But the team were doing really well, and that was great to see. And it's incredible that they were able to get there to a point where we were knocking at the door and we were challenging teams that are spending way more money than us. So it was a really exciting first half of the season, I would say.
Could you tell us what it's like to be a fan attending every single game during the long period that we had without a win? And were you ever thinking, I'm not sure I can keep doing this?
Never. I wore it as a badge of honour, to be honest with you. When your team's losing every game but you're still going, and other people maybe are not, to me that's a badge of honour as a supporter. That's good support. So I wouldn't say that I was ever not going to go to all of the games. I was going to stick to that no matter what. So it wasn't really difficult for me. Some of the games were difficult to watch, and I will confess that I was in the pub before the end of the Bath City home match, so I can't claim to have watched every minute of every game this season.
Could you describe the build-up to the Welling game at home and the atmosphere in the stadium pre-match?
It was a fantastic day at home to Welling. There was something in the ether that day around the village. Everybody was just in a good mood, from the pub before the game to the atmosphere during the game. I know the Supporters Trust had been working with Mark and other people at the club, you know, on the atmosphere before the games, and so we started playing the John Denver Country Road song and encouraging people to sing before the games and things like that. So that was starting to pay off, and there was a good atmosphere, I think, before the game, and everybody was in a good mood. I think it was one of the first games where the marquee in the car park had been lifted because the weather was changing, and that just adds a slightly different dimension to the atmosphere because it feels a bit more like summertime. And so everybody was in a really good mood, and for many reasons. And obviously I think in a weird way that translated to on the pitch, because obviously the players just from minute 1 were just playing Welling off the pitch, having lost the previous, I don't know how many games it was, 11 or 12. So it was a great day.
Now, as you just touched on there, the performance on the pitch definitely helped. But describe what it was like off the pitch during that whole afternoon.
Everybody was just on cloud nine. I think we had taken a very early lead, and then were we 3-0 up by half an hour into the game or something like that? So I think as a contest, the game itself was over, and I think there was this relief because we had got the points in the bag that we needed to secure National League South football. That's what everybody was really waiting for. It was just that wait to climb over the 50-point barrier, which we've been waiting for 8 weeks for. So I think there was just this relief. Everybody was just in a good mood and having a good time.
And obviously the positive feeling around the club will hopefully continue. Could you tell us your hopes and expectations for the summer and next season?
Well, I think in terms of player recruitment, where they've done really well this season is hiring players from step 3 and step 4 who have stepped up and proven themselves at step 2. I don't know what the budget will be next season, but I think that if that's the approach we're going to take, I'm really excited to see who we're signing from those divisions below and how those players are playing during pre-season. I would like us to keep a certain number of the players we've had this season, build the nucleus of the squad around them. So I'm really excited to hear who's on the retained list this season. So that's great. And Jules has just popped his head in. So there's that aspect of it in terms of the playing side of things. As a supporter, I think, as I say, I'm glad we're not going to Truro next season. That's great. I really want Merthyr Town to be in the National League South because we've not played them for a long time. We actually did play them before in the 2000-2001 season. We had them in the FA Cup third qualifying round. They were called Merthyr Tydfil back then. And so everybody went off to Merthyr. We had a 3-0 win, which was a great day out. And it'd be nice to go there, but sadly, I think they might end up in the northern section, unfortunately. I believe Tottenham are coming up, is that right? Possibly. That would be a good day out if they come up as well. That would be a new ground for me, and I think many of us, I don't know if Hampton have played that team before. So I think you always look forward to going to new places. Hopefully we'll get to go to Torquay again because I love going to Torquay. Yeah.
Were there actually any games that you nearly didn't make or even miss?
I had a challenge to my resolution to go to every game really early on because they organised that friendly against Ashford Town at Hendon's ground, and that was on Saturday the 13th of July. And I was in Belfast on my holidays, and usually I would have been spending the weekend in Belfast that weekend, and I decided to come home that Saturday morning just to tick that game off. There was a part of me which said, it's a trialist game, it doesn't count. And then I thought, no, if you're going to do this, you're going to do it properly. So we got an earlier flight back and watched the game and ticked that one off. So that was a bit of a challenge. The other ones that were difficult, and I have to give a mention here and a thank you to Tom Lang, who gave us a lift home from both Weymouth away and Eastbourne Borough away, which were both on Tuesday nights. Both of those games, there were no public transport back after the game. So those would have been impossible without somebody to drive. So those were difficult ones.
What was your favourite away day of the season in terms of the whole day, the travel, the food, the drink, the result, and the people you went with?
I think I would have to say Torquay United because of that great 1-0 win that we had. There weren't very many Hampton fans in that game. I seem to remember it was announced that 29 away fans. Torquay always announced the away fans and the home fans just to embarrass you about how few people you've got there. But it was a great day out. Obviously, we took the train down there. I was with yourself and Tommy. So that was good fun. And we went round a few of the pubs, walked through the hills of Torquay to the ground. So Torquay's always good fun. It's a proper football ground. And it's an excellent view from where they put the away fans up there in the Bristow's bench stand. So that's always a good place to go.
Which ground should Hampton fans make sure that they go to next season?
If you haven't been there, you've got to go to Twerton Park, Bath City's ground. Twerton Park is a proper football stadium. It's falling to bits, but it's oozing with character. It's got proper open terracing. It's got excellent views of the city of Bath. It's just a really good football club. It's a very well run football club. There's some really good people there. So it's well worth a visit. I don't really know what's going on with Bath, but there's always talk about them either improving the stadium or moving somewhere else. So I think it's one to see while it's in its current state. And Bath is also a great city to spend the weekend in and have a day out as well.
Do you know how many grounds that you've actually been to in total across your football supporting life?
I do not know the answer to that. I do keep very good records of everything I do. I keep a big Hampton archive, and I keep a sort of journal of the matches I go to and stuff. So I think that might be a summer project actually to try and work out the answer to that question, because I'm sure I probably could, but I'm not sure.
To someone who has never been to the Bev, describe why they should get down next season.
Beverley is a picturesque village ground. It has got lots of character. It's one of the smaller grounds in the league, but it's a very nice place. The club is a genuinely friendly club. I know a lot of other people were hooked from day one when they walked into the club. So you could do a lot worse with your Saturday afternoon than giving it a go.
My final question to you, Chris, is are you going to do it all again next season?
Absolutely, yes. And I've got a commitment from Tommy Rance that he's going to do every competitive game next season with me. So I expect him to stick to that. He hasn't committed to all of the pre-season games though, so I might be on my own for all of those ones. So we'll see how we go.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.